Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Anya Seton, A Writing Life, by Lucinda H. Mackethan. Narrated by Tanya Eby. Author's Note. Beginning with her first book, My Theodosia, 1941, Anya Seton included an author's note, preface, or afterword in almost all her novels. She wanted everyone to know, as she said in her first note, that I have tried to be historically accurate in every detail. It was crucially, some would say obsessively, important to her that historical accuracy be the cornerstone of her fiction, although she recognized that her slavish following of fact might work against some of her readers' expectations. After finishing The Winthrop Woman, 1957, she wrote her publicist that, I suppose the reason I care so much to have the research recognized is that I have no illusion about my writing. It is swift, competent, pictorial, emotional, and I am a storyteller. I'm not very original and have no subtleties of style. No matter how we might regard that self-assessment, it is true that Anya's attention to historical authenticity has always been the most highly praised feature of her novels. In this book, I hope to present accurately the story of the writing life of one of the 20th century's most popular historical novelists. The task has helped me to understand why author's notes were such a necessary indulgence for Anya Seton, because I too feel the need to emphasize, as she did, where all the facts of this story have come from. And there's the rub. Anya Seton was the daughter of two writers who, together with her, constitute a family of prodigious talent, great passion, enormous charm, and fierce egotism. The Setons, Ernest Thompson, Grace Gallatin, and Anya, left a print record of themselves not only in their books, over 40 for Ernest, 7 for Grace, and 13 for Anya, but in letters, journals, magazine pieces, and newspaper articles. In the author's note to My Theodosia, Anya spoke of the vast amount of Burr material that she had to absorb. As her biographer, I sympathize. The story of her writing family extends from Ernest Thompson's first story, Lobo, King of the Currumpaw, 1894, to Anya's last novel, Smoldering Fires, 1975. Then it extends far beyond to include the scholars, critics, and reviewers, as well as the generations of readers who have continued to treasure Seton books, especially Anya's, long after their deaths. As far as biographical or critical studies, the story is different. There are no book-length biographies of Anya or Grace, while there are 3 of Ernest Thompson Seton. As for Anya Seton, few who have studied the fate of popular women authors writing during the mid-20th century find the lack of scholarly attention surprising. Despite or because of her presence on the New York bestseller list for over 30 years, she never had much chance for literary scrutiny. With the tags money writer and historical romancer all but stamped on her forehead, she easily disappeared from critical view, especially because she wrote during a time when women writers were often consigned to the categories of romance or bodice rippers, or, at best, fiction targeted for the light entertainment of housewives. From the 1940s to the 1970s, the period when Anya had a wide readership, women writers of great popular appeal generally encountered the disdain of highbrow reviewers and academic arbiters of literary taste. The climate has changed. One of the interesting things about many currently well-regarded historical novelists, Alison Weir, Philippa Gregory, Florence King, Sharon K. Penman, and Mary Higgins Clark, to name a few, is how enthusiastically they cite Anya Seton as a formative influence. A look online shows that readers are often sharing their joy at discovering, or rediscovering, her adult novels. Those 10 remain available in several editions and languages. For me, the saga of critical reception is not what is most important to address, except as Anya herself expressed her feelings about it. So little is known about her actual life, especially what she called her writing life, and so much material about that life has been made available to me that tracing its history has become my calling. Thanks to the generosity of Anya's daughters, Pamela Cottier-Forcy and Clemency Chase Coggins, the Greenwich Historical Society contains enough Anya Seton files to make a researcher feel that no one in the family ever threw away anything. If it related to their writing, their interchanges with one another, their finances, or their publicity, they saved it, and most of it came down to Anya's and then her daughter's keeping. There are also collections at the National Archives of Canada, the American Museum of Natural History in New York, and the Ernest Thompson Seton Library at the Philmont Scout Ranch in Cimarron, New Mexico. Important additional materials for Grace Gallatin Seton are available at the Schlesinger Library of the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study. The valuable files pertaining to Anya and her publishers are housed in the Houghton Mifflin Records in the Houghton Library at Harvard. I have been to all these places, an adventure that for me has echoes of the journey that Grace recorded in the subtitle to one of her travel narratives. A half-year in the wilds of Mato Grosso and the Paraguayan forest, over the Andes to Peru. Except that Grace had better scenery, and her trek took her only half a year, while mine has taken many years more. All the collections contain rich evidence of how the Setons lived, wrote, and related to one another. One of my greatest difficulties has been the problem of how to keep Anne, then Anya, at the center of focus when her parents' accomplishments kept clamoring to be included. I have not given them the space that many might wish. I can blame the mountains of sources, but also remind myself of what Anne wrote when she had barely begun to be interested in writing. She wanted to be recognized for herself, and aimed even more audaciously to be more popular than her parents. That's her story, and I'm trying to stick to it while also presenting her very close relationships to her parents and their influence on her personally and professionally. Next came the question of how best to capture the different sides of what Anya called her bifurcated, trifurcated life, one in which, as she put it, I try to ride too many horses. My decision has been influenced by the place from which we hear Anya's own voice most clearly, from what might be called her own autobiography. At age 17, she started writing what she called her personal little book, what would eventually become over 3,000 handwritten pages of journals, most of them filling 10 300-page leather-bound, red-spined, 8 by 11-inch lined ledger notebooks. I have only recently been able to study these in full and at length, again thanks to the generosity and trust of Anya's daughters, who have loaned them to me and given me permission to cite them however I choose. They have placed no restrictions on my use of any materials. I hope to give as full an accounting as time and space allow to answer the question of how Anya Seton created not only her novels, but also herself as daughter, wife, mother, friend, and writer. Ernest Thompson Seton might have been a model for teenager Anne's journaling through his own inveterate habit. His second wife described his massive output. 50-odd fat journals of his natural history observations, begun in 1879 and continued day by day until 2 weeks before the end of his life in 1946. Explaining his intentions, he wrote that journals should capture the simple fact, bold, untooled, perhaps incomplete, but honestly given as it was found. It is always useful to have a record of one's doings, he added, but more important, writing a fact makes one observe it better. Unlike her father, Anne and then Anya Seton had no intention of just jotting down brief daily observations. Over the years, sometimes her musings, reflections, longing, lists of desires, descriptions of family rituals, love affairs, and illnesses went on for several pages. Ernest said that journal observations should be honestly given. How do we know that Anya is speaking honestly or accurately? What might she have intended? The accuracy of most of her facts is corroborated in letters written to or from her. She saved copies of many of her letters, and by information in articles about her or from interviews with her family. Sometimes she admitted that she was trying out the style of the autobiographies or diaries of writers she admired, from Katherine Mansfield to Ellen Glasgow and even Arnold Bennett. What is so appealing and sometimes sad is that Anya was much more likely to be self-critical or doubting than self-promoting in her journals. Most of the time, what a reader experiences is the sense of listening to Anya talking to herself. Could she lie to herself? Certainly. Yet she was much more likely to vacillate between choices about how to think or what to do. She was usually serious, sometimes sentimental, often very funny or sarcastic. She could be brutally honest, And she could go on far too long about domestic dramas, her...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?